Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, back here on YouTube, continuing our series on the biggest head coaching hires of this past offseason. And today we're going to be taking a look at the program that was the first to fire their head coach back in the 2019 regular season. That, of course, is the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, who all the way back on September 30th fired previous head coach Chris Ash just 4 games in to the 2019 season. And I'm sure to some people, when I say they fired him just 4 games into the regular season, they think, man, that is really premature. That's way too early to fire a head coach. But I know for you Rutgers fans out there, my guys like DM and Comic Dude 45, you were thinking, thank God it was about time. Because you see, Chris Ash, just 4 games in to the 2019 season, Rutgers was already 1-3 and already had 2 shutout losses to their name, a 30-0 loss to Iowa and a 52-0 loss to Michigan. That game, of course, was the last for Chris Ash. And in just a little over 3 seasons, Ash had gone just 8-32 overall with the Scarlet Knights and 3-26 in Big Ten conference play. So those numbers right there are the reason Chris Ash was fired so early. He was showing no signs of improvement going into his 4th season with the program. And those numbers right there, regardless of what conference you're in, whether you are at the Sun Belt Conference level, whether you're in the FCS, whether you're coaching NAIA football, those numbers just aren't acceptable. Regardless of where you are, 8 wins in three seasons, a little over 3 seasons, 3 wins in conference play, just unacceptable. Ash was just not getting the job done at Rutgers, which resulted in his firing and Rutgers being led by an interim for the remainder of 2019, which ended in a 2-10 season. Ash, though, landed back on his feet, now the defensive coordinator, back at Texas with Tom Herman, teaming up with Tom Herman once again, trying to get Texas back like they so famously proclaim just about every year. So Chris Ash gets fired. They finished 2019, a lost season already, just 4 games into the year for Rutgers. And who do they go out and hire? Who do they go out and hire at the conclusion of the 2019 season? They go back and hire Greg Schiano. On December 1st, they hire Greg Schiano. And I should say maybe rehire Greg Schiano, because as many of us know, Schiano was the head coach at Rutgers for over a decade. From 2001 to 2011, he was the head coach for the Scarlet Knights. And this was a hire that really, really excited the fan base, but also a hire that almost didn't happen. Schiano and the administration weren't really seeing eye to eye during this entire hiring process. Schiano wanted some guarantees that the administration wasn't really prepared to give him, but in the end, the fan base and the support they had for Schiano, and just the ideal that Rutgers would be idiotic not to hire the man that made Rutgers football relevant, and we'll get to that in a second, ended up being enough for the administration to give him the money, to give him the demands that he wanted, to meet his needs, and get Greg Schiano back as head coach at Rutgers. Now, we said he was the head coach there from 2001 to 2011, compiling a 68-67 overall record. So that's just barely 1 game above 500. And for most people, you would look at that record and you would say, that's not very good at all. That is really not good. So why is this such a big deal? Why are Rutgers fans excited to get Greg Schiano back as their head coach, a guy that barely went 500 during his time as head coach there? Well, here is why. To figure that out, you need to go back and look at the history of Rutgers football. You need to go back and look at that, and we can go all the way back to the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. We're just going to go as far back as the 1990s. From 1990 to 2000, so the 10 years there, the entire decade. From 1990 to 2000, Rutgers football, their overall record was 37, 83, and 1. 1990 to 2000, the Scarlet Knights went 37, 83, and 1. They did not make a single bowl game during that time. As a matter of fact, prior to Greg Schiano's arrival, Rutgers' only bowl appearance was back in 1978, the Garden State Bowl, which they lost. They had never won a bowl game. They'd only been to one all the way back in 1978. And they were nearly 50 games below 500 between 1990 and 2000. The state of Rutgers football was absolutely horrible. It's almost as bad as it is right now. So in comes Greg Schiano in 2001, and right off the bat he struggles because he had nothing to work with. Much like he might do now in his second stint with the Scarlet Knights, because he doesn't have a whole lot to work with. And Rutgers is very, very lucky that the administration kept Schiano after the first 4 years with the program, because his first 4 seasons, from 2001 to about 2004, he went 12-34. Schiano went 12-34 in his first 4 seasons with the program, and for most programs, they would not keep a coach with that bad of a record after 4 years. We always say you try to give brand new head coaches 3 or 4 years to hit their stride. That gives them time to get in their players. That gives them time to really adjust and try to develop and implement their schemes. And after 4 years, Schiano was over 20 games below 500. But the Rutgers administration saw something and they kept him. The final 7 seasons, after that abysmal start, Schiano went 56-33. 12-34 to 56-33. He led them to a bowl game in 6 of his final 7 seasons with the Scarlet Knights. Remember, prior to Schiano, the Scarlet Knights had been to 1 bowl game all the way back in 1978. They didn't even win that one. He went to 6 bowl games in those final 7 seasons, won 5 of those bowl games, and in 2006 saw one of the greatest seasons in Rutgers football history, finishing 11-2 and number 12 in the entire nation. Rutgers finished 12th in the AP polls that season in 2006, going 11-2, upsetting team after team after team, getting top 10 win after top 10 win. Were one of the better teams in the entire country, was an actual contender for one of the first times in program history. So after 2011, after a phenomenal 7-year stretch, one of the best stretches ever in Rutgers football history, Schiano left to go take the head coaching job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that was a move that surprised a lot of people. You know, Rutgers wasn't competing for a national title in 2011. They weren't poised to do so in 2012. But it was a surprise to see a guy that had transformed this program, that made their football program relevant both within their conference and at the national stage, leave to go take an NFL job. And once again, you can't really blame the guy. You know, money does talk and greater opportunities do talk. To go say you were a coach in the NFL to try to take your talents to the next level, I think many may have done the same thing. But Schiano went there, and as many college coaches find out the hard way, the NFL is drastically different than the college ranks, and Schiano struggled with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going 11-21 in just 2 seasons and then getting fired. Many college coaches do not do very well at the NFL level. Nick Saban did not do well. Bobby Petrino did not do well. Chip Kelly did not do well. There are not many that can coach well both in the NFL and at the college level. Greg Schiano, no exception. He did get back on his feet, though, as a defensive coordinator, very much like Chris Ash did, was the defensive coordinator for Ohio State for 3 years, starting in 2016. He did not coach anywhere in 2019. And there were rumors circulating for a long time that maybe Schiano could come back. Maybe Schiano could come back to Rutgers. There was a very good chance of that. And as they fired Chris Ash, and as the season got worse and worse in 2019, those rumors began to get bigger and bigger. And in December, right at the beginning of the month, Christmas arrived early for Scarlet Knight fans. They landed Greg Schiano. They landed their man. A fantastic, fantastic hire for a guy that put Rutgers back on the map. Or really, for some could say, put them on the map, period. Because they weren't in the 90s. They weren't in the 80s. They were briefly in the 70s. But that's a long, long time ago. So let's look at the 2020 outlook for Rutgers. You know, we mentioned that the first 4 seasons for Greg Schiano back when he took the job in 2001, he struggled. He only won 12 games. And that could be the case now in 2020 for these next few years. Once again, we say coaches need a couple years to hit their stride. Rutgers fans have endured years and years of suffering, having only won 9 games over the past 4 seasons. They might have to endure a few more years of suffering until Greg Schiano can turn this program around, much like he did nearly a decade ago. But in 2020, one thing I can say is for a program that has struggled so bad as Rutgers, Schiano has done a pretty good job of recruiting already. He's doing a very good job of recruiting in that northeastern part of the country, trying to recruit local New Jersey players, guys from around that area. But he's also doing a very good job of utilizing the transfer portal. Already landed safety BRENDON White, who was the MVP for Ohio State in that 2018 Rose Bowl, where they defeated Chris Peterson and Washington. So they land a Big Ten transfer in BRENDON White from an elite program like Ohio State. He lands another wide receiver, ARON from Wisconsin, who, yes, gives them a threat in the passing game, but gives them an even bigger threat in the special teams. CRUICKSHANK, a very dangerous and speedy return man, and he was able to convince their quarterback, Artur Sitkowski, to stay. Sitkowski planned on transferring. He changed his mind after the arrival of Greg Schiano. And for some Rutgers fans, that might not be good news. Sitkowski struggled mightily these past few seasons. But once again, you put a quarterback in the right system with a good offensive coordinator, with a guy that knows what he's doing, and surround him with decent talent, you're going to be amazed at the strides he can take. And Sitkowski, I believe, is the type of guy that has that talent. He just needs to be put in the right system, needs to have the right coaches surrounding him. And I wholeheartedly believe that Schiano can be that man. So right there, 2 major transfers, convincing transfers to stay, and doing a decent job recruiting already for Rutgers. Schiano already making huge improvement and huge strides, and he hasn't even coached a game yet in his second stint with the program. So what do we give this hire? We have praised Schiano for his previous works with Rutgers. We've praised him already for the work that he's doing now in the offseason. So what do we grade the hire of Rutgers University, bringing back Greg Schiano? It should be no surprise to anybody. We're giving it an A+. An absolute A+ hire. The first in this new head coaching series that we have given anybody an A. We haven't given anybody a grade higher than a B. Greg Schiano and Rutgers, congratulations, you are an A+. There's no doubt to me that he can turn this Rutgers program around. He made Rutgers football relevant back in 2001 and really taking place in 2005 in the 7 years taking place after that. He made them relevant. He made them contenders. And something that's even better to me coming from Greg Schiano is he wants to be here. Coaches that want to be at their schools, that makes a big difference. Every coach wants to coach somewhere, but why are they going? Are they going because it's a better opportunity? Or are they going because it's more money? Greg Schiano, I don't think, cares about any of that. He cares about the Rutgers football program. He bleeds Rutgers football. He wants to be here. He wants to make them relevant again, just like he did the first time, and I have no doubt in my mind that he can do that. And something else, he's already excited this fan base. They haven't even played a game in 2020. They haven't even had their spring game, and he's already excited the Rutgers faithful and the Rutgers fan base. Let me tell you, that's a pretty hard thing to do for a fan base that has watched their team win just 9 games in the past 4 years. So Greg Schiano, an absolute A+ hire from us here at the Gridiron Expert. It might not translate to success in 2020, but I guarantee it will in a few years down the road. I could see this being an exact repeat of Schiano's first stint when he took over with the head coaching job at Rutgers all the way back in 2001. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here on YouTube. We've got plenty more coaching hire analysis coming your way in the following days, so do not miss out on that. You're not going to want to miss any video in this entire series and any of the videos to come following this series. So as always, thank you for watching. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on the Gridiron Expert.